Hello friends, so welcome back to my channel Mukesh English and this is Mukesh Soni. Friends, in this video we shall have the discussion of the open elective question paper, and the open elective is here spoken English for global communication. And I have done including this video you would find here the three important question paper solution. So you can go through all these three important question paper solution. That's going to help a lot, and this question paper it belongs to all the semesters irrespective of any course or any semester, because the syllabus is same and the textbook is also same. So now let's begin the third semester 2023 examination question paper of spoken English for global communication under Bangalore University, the English open elective. Here we have 5 marks question, sorry, 2 marks questions, and here you need to answer only the 5 questions. So 2 marks, 5 questions. Question number one: what is global communication? Global communication can be defined as a process of exchanging information and ideas across national borders, utilizing various channels and platforms such as social media, language, migration, and work. What is standard English? During the colonization, the colonies were taught the English that was used in Oxford and Cambridge, a variety of English which was spoken in and around London, and this English later came to be known as the Standard English or received pronunciation. Third question we have here: differentiate between vowel and consonant sounds. Vowels are made by opening the mouth and allowing the air to come out freely. The sounds are produced completely or partially. The vowels are made by opening the mouth and allowing the air coming out freely. That is called vowels. If the sounds are produced completely or partially, stopping the flow of air breathed out through the mouth, are called consonants. For example, p. When you say p, you are going to close the mouth for a while. So you are going to stop the air here, partially stopping the air. That is called consonants. In the case of vowels, your mouth remains open and the air comes out very freely. For example, if you say e, if you say oo, your mouth is open. But on the other hand, if you say p, if you say t, your mouth is partially closed. So that's the difference between vowel sound and the consonant sounds. 1 minute. Yeah. Next question: what is intrapersonal communication? What's the meaning of intrapersonal communication? Intrapersonal communication can be defined as the communication with one's self, and that may include self talk, acts of imagination, visualization, and even sometimes recall as well as the memory. Question number 5 we have here: what is the difference between listening and hearing? This is very common question. Hearing is passive, listening is active. Hearing is a sense, listening is a skill. Hearing is involuntary, listening requires attention. Hearing is receiving sound, listening is understanding it. Hearing does not require memory, but listening requires memory or involves memory. Question number 6: what is phonetics? How many vowel and consonant sounds are there in the English language? Phonetics is a fundamental branch of linguistics that is also called as the scientific study of language. It deals with the study of speech sounds. Vowels are 20 in number, out of which 12 are the pure vowels, 8 are the diphthongs. Consonant sounds are 20, there are 24 consonant sounds. So in this manner, there are 44 sounds in English, 20 vowels, 20 vowel sounds, and 20, and 14, I'm sorry, 24 consonant sounds and 20 vowel sounds or the vowel sounds. Next question we have. Okay, so out of 6 questions, you are going to opt here. How many questions? You're going to opt here 4 questions. Sorry, 5 questions. Now, that is the 2 marks questions. Now you need to answer the 5 marks questions. Any 4 questions, 5 marks. Question number 1: explain how a language receives the status as a global language. Why do you call, how does a language receive global language? A language receives its status as a global language when It has a special role that is recognized in all the countries of the world. There are mainly two ways in which language receives a role as a means of global communication or global language. Number one, when a language is chosen as the first language or second language in a country. What is the first reason you can get the global language? When it is chosen as the first language or second language. This language will be used for communication, governing official documents, media, science, technology, research, etc. In India, English is recognized as one of the official languages. It is used for official purposes, documents, in media, etc. That's a one reason, that's a one way it becomes a global language. Second way is here when a language is given priority in education. In many countries, English is taught as a second language and it has become the medium of teaching. In India, many schools, many universities teach English apart from the regional languages. So many others use English as the medium of instruction. Majority of the research is done in English. So this is how a language gets a global language status. Question number two, write a note on the five stages, the stages involved in the process of listening. This is a very important question. The first stage we have here, receiving stage in the listening process. Receiving is the intentional focus on hearing a speaker's message, which happens when we filter out other sources so that we can isolate the message and avoid the confusing mixture of incoming stimuli. At this stage, we are still only hearing the message. Receiving means to say we are just hearing it. Then the second stage, what do? We start comprehending. Second stage is called as the understanding stage. In the understanding stage, we try to learn the meaning of message, which is not always easy. For one thing, if a speaker does not articulate clearly, does not pronounce clearly, it may be difficult to tell what the message was. So, did your friend say, I think she'll be late for the class, or my teacher delayed the class? Even we have understood the words in the message because of the differences in our backgrounds and the experiences. We sometimes make the mistake of attaching our own meanings to the words of others. Third stage we have here, remembering, right? I'm sorry, receiving and the receiving, understanding, and remembering. Remembering begins with listening. If you can't remember something that was said, you might not have been listening effectively. The most common reason for not remembering a message is because it wasn't not really learned in the first place. Last stage we have here, evaluating. The fourth stage in the listening process is the evaluation or thinking critically about the message. We might think this makes sense or this is very odd because everyone embodies biased and perspectives learned from widely diverse sets of life experiences. Evaluations of the same message can vary widely from one listener to another listener. So this is how we have four stages of listening. If you see here, receiving, understanding, remembering, and evaluation. So this is very, very important questions. It will be repeated again, right? I'm sorry. Fifth stage, still we have responding through feedback. So this is the fifth and the final stage where you have to respond. Almost anything a listener says or does can be interpreted as a feedback. Making eye contact, nodding your head when a classmate or the instructor is speaking, they are the examples of positive non-verbal feedback. On the other hand, looking at your mobile phone would likely be construed as a negative non-verbal feedback. Positive verbal feedback could also be saying great job, telling the speaker you would find his or her message very interesting. So these are the five stages of listening process. Important question, mostly repeated question in all the examination. Next, elucidate, explain the problems faced by the students while listening. So I have listed out here Few problems here you can explain: lack of control over the speed at which the speaker speaks, not being able to get the things repeated, the listener's limited vocabulary, failure to recognize the signals. Signals means the non-verbal communication, problems of interpretation, inability to concentrate. So please do explain. You can explain in your own words and you can easily explain it. Fourth question, elaborate on any five barriers to effective listenings. Again, I'll list out here seven barriers. You can select any five barriers and you can write two or the three sentences on each barrier. Number one, prejudgments about the speaker. Assuming that the speaker is going to give some unimportant information, arriving late for a speech, presentation, or lecture. Sorry, judging the speaker by his or her mannerism, voice, appearance, accent, etc., lack of concentration or interest. Avoid listening to difficult, boring, or the complex information and selectively listen only to what is considered as interesting. Last one, speaker or listener being distracted by the disturbance. So these are the five barriers, seven barriers. Please do explain. They are very easy. You can easily explain it. Fifth question we have here, explain the four listening strategies. So we have here four important strategies here: cognitive, metacognitive, affective, and social strategies. This is again very important repeated question. First is here cognitive listening strategy. Cognitive listening strategies refer to all mental abilities and the processes related to the knowledge to resolve problems. Some examples of cognitive performance include inferring, predicting, interpreting, storing, and recalling information, summarizing, translating, repeating, elaborating, resourcing, grouping, note taking, substituting, and drawing images. These are the cognitive listening strategies example. Second strategy we have here, metacognitive listening strategy. The process of using metacognitive strategies covers the act of planning, monitoring, evaluating the listening text. Planning refers to how one develops the awareness of what needs to be done to accomplish a listening task. Monitoring refers to how listeners can check, verify, and correct and comprehend. Evaluation is about to check the results of learners' listening comprehension against the internal measure of completeness and accuracy. Third strategy we have here, affective listening strategy. This is concerned with the managing emotions that can be either negative or positive. Negative emotions like um, anxiety, which cause the learners to feel upset and interfere with the listening results. While the positive emotions are here refers to relaxation, enjoyment, cohesive sense of community, which can encourage the concentration and peer cooperation. Fourth strategy of listening, social listening strategy. This is the last one. Social listening strategy refer to learning by interacting with others, such as appealing for help or asking for confirmation. So these are the four listening strategies we have in this paper. This is again a repeated question. Sixth question, explain the types of communication. So generally verbal, non-verbal, and written communication. First, we have verbal communication, which means the use of spoken or written words to convey a message. So we have in the verbal communication, we have oral communication, written communication. You can pause the video. Oral communication, where you speech, phone calls; written communication, emails, letters, reports, circulars. Then we have non-verbal communication. Under non-verbal communication, we have the transmission of message or the information without using words. We have body language, paralinguistics, proxemics, haptics, appearances. Pause the video and you can read the content. Finally, we have written communication, where we use the written symbols such as letters, words to communicate, emails, letters, reports, articles, social media posts, etc. So this is about the types of communication. Last question, seventh question, because you have to attempt four questions. Out of seven questions, you need to attempt four questions. Explain in brief the interpersonal communication. Earlier, we have learned in 2 marks intrapersonal. This is interpersonal communication. Interpersonal communication involves the information, ideas, and feelings being exchanged verbally and non verbally between the two or more people. Face to face communication often involves hearing, seeing, feeling, body language, facial expressions, and gestures. So, we have two or the three different types of interpersonal communication. One is a verbal communication, which you call as a speaking, and this term covers the words you use, how persuasively you speak, the language you use, which the words you emphasize, and even the use of affirmative sounds in the short phrases like yeah. So these are very important. Second, in the verbal, and another word is here verbal speaking. Okay, listening. Second is here listening. It covers the ability to listen attentively, whether you're using your ears to listen in person or some other means, say over the internet. Listening also includes spatial techniques like reflection and clarification. The best listeners are the people who can focus their attention on the speaker to make the latter feel like they are the sole and the most important person in the room. Next, we have here written word. Thanks to the internet age and the situations requiring isolation, good written communication skills have become an asset. Whether you are on social media, in the workplace, or even texting your phone, you must know how to get your point across in writing. This type include emojis, grammar, clarity, tone, and even punctuation. Last, we have here normal non-verbal communication. Now we have 10 marks questions, and you need to select out of the three questions, you need to select one question. So let's have the discussion of the 10 marks question. Question number one, what are the types of listening? Explain. So we have here four types of listening. Number one, listening for gist. It is extensive listening for skimming. This happens when we listen to get a general idea about a topic. For example, listening to a summary of the day's news on the radio. Second type of listening, listening for specific information. This is when we listen to something which, because we want to discover a particular piece of information. Example, listening to the weather report to discover the weather in your city. Third type of listening we have here, listening in detail. This is called intensive listening. We listen very closely by paying attention to all the words and try to understand as much information as possible. Example, a member of a jury listening to a statement from a witness. Fourth type of listening we have here, discriminative listening. That means it's a very foundational type of listening that focuses on the ability to differentiate between various sounds and the cues in communication. It is a most basic form of listening and serves as the basis for all the other forms of listening because it involves a recognition and distinction of auditory stimuli. So these are the types of English for 10 marks. Next question we have here, what are English variants and compare and contrast British and American English? After the years of development, it is probably one of the most widely spoken English. English is one of the most widely spoken languages in the world. With the development of English language, it has got many variants or many varieties. There are different varieties of English like South African English, New Zealand English, Australian, Canadian, and the most commonly used British and American, British English and American English. Let's know the difference between British English and American English. The first difference from the point of view of phonetics and pronunciation. Phonetics is a branch of linguistics that studies how humans produce and perceive sounds, or in the case of sign languages, the equivalent aspects of sign. Second, in the case of individual sound, pronunciation of the vowels of dance, fast, glass. The Americans they pronounce these words with the sound a, as in cat. In contrast, British people will pronounce these sounds as dance. Ah, they use the sound ah. On the other hand, the Americans use the sound a, like fast, fast, glass, dance. But we say dance, fast, glass in the British English. Third, next difference we have here, difference in spelling. The words ending with er in American English have the ending as re. For okay, in American English, the words ends with er, but in British English, the words end with re. For example, in British English, theater, center, meter, fiber, but in American English, that is ter. In American English, er. In British English, re. Next difference we have here, the words ending with or. Or in American English, but in OUR in British English. For example, color, COLOUR, but in American English, COLOR. So similarly, we have the words having one consonant in American English. On the other hand, British English, two consonants. For example, American English like traveler, traveler, wagon, jeweler, double L, double G, right? In American English, single L, traveler, single L, jeweler, single L. So these are the differences between American and the British English. Next question, elaborate the barriers to effective communication. So again, these are the barriers to effective communication. Prejudgments about the speaker. I think it's a repeated question, assuming that the speaker is going to give unimportant information, arriving late, judging the information by his mannerism, voice, appearance, lack of concentration, and avoid listening to difficult or the boring or the complex information. You become a selective listener, and sometimes you get distracted by the disturbances. So these are the barriers to effective communication. So these were the questions for 10 marks. I have given only the limelight, not the complete detail. Wherever the questions are easy, I have not focused much, so you can add your answer. Now, the third section of a question paper we have here, 2 marks, 5 marks, 10 marks, and the fourth section. It's a fourth section where you need to, this is about the dialogue writing, the creative writing. So here you have two questions, write a dialogue on a given situation or complete the dialogue. So write a dialogue stating that you are not attending your friend's wedding due to your busy work schedule. So you have a dialogue on your screen, you can read it, but when you're writing dialogue, keep in the mind, let it be informal, use the punctuation properly, use the question tags. That's going to help you a lot. You can pause the video and you can read the dialogue. Or if you do not want to construct a dialogue, you can complete the given dialogue. So that's also going to help you a lot. So that's for 5 marks. So this is how I have tried to solve the question paper of 2023 examination, spoken English for global communication. So you can find my 3 videos on this question papers of spoken English for global communication. You can see the description box. We'll get the links of all these 3 videos. If you watch these 3 videos, you will definitely pass. At least I can say you will pass this paper. So thank you so much for watching this video. Stay connected with Mukesh English. Like the video, comment the video, and don't forget to subscribe the channel. Wish you good luck.